Hi, and thank you for clicking on an update on our Learning Models Accelerated Learning Plans and Common Assessment Subcommittee for kindergarten through fifth grade. First of all, let's talk about why you were here today. We want to talk about the why, how, and what of the Accelerated Learning Plans and the Common Assessment Subcommittee work that was done this summer. And we also want to demonstrate how to navigate the D97 2021 scope and sequence for kindergarten through fifth grade and discuss the next steps and expectations. We absolutely have to start by thanking all of the teachers who gave up part of their summer to do this work and really kept the students front and center as we thought about what we're going to need to do this year to help our students. So here are our representatives from kindergarten through fifth grade. We had a great team of special area teachers and, as always, some fantastic instructional coaches. So thank you to everyone you see here for their work this summer and their dedication to the students in District 97. So let's take a look at what we did this summer, why we did it, how we did it, and the product. So we know that coming into this year, our students will begin with some learning deficits. Last spring was not an ideal situation. We know that some of our most disadvantaged students are likely to suffer some learning regression. And so we wanted to make a plan for addressing this. We wanted to create plans that allowed us to assess and respond to uneven outcomes created by our school closures last spring. We wanted to be really clear about what we expect students to know and to be able to do. We wanted to make sure that we have assessments available to our teachers that they can use going forward to figure out exactly what their students need. And we wanted to make sure that we identified where we may need to really step up our differentiation. So we created accelerated learning plans, and accelerated learning plans is kind of just what we called our scope and sequence this year that also identified areas where our students might need some additional support. And we wanted to make sure that we had some common assessments, both assessments and platforms that teachers could use. So we're going to talk a little bit about the process of how we went through this work. So the first thing that our kindergarten through fifth grade teachers did was they identified the standards that were taught during remote learning in trimester 3, 2020. Then the teachers identified some skills that their students may have normally gotten in the classroom or some experiences that they missed because of remote learning. Taking these considerations, we shared the skills and the standards and the experiences with the next grade level. This allowed second grade teachers to really have a better understanding of what their students missed at trimester 3 in first grade. Then we learned about some platforms that might be available for remote or hybrid assessment. Finally, a scope and sequence was created in order to assist teachers in identifying areas in the curriculum that may need some differentiation. And we recommended for adoption some assessment platforms to use this year. So let's take a look at the D97 2021 scope and sequence for kindergarten through fifth grade. Each grade level in each special area has an accelerated scope and sequence. We're going to take a look right now at the second grade scope and sequence, just so you can see what yours might look like. So the scope and sequence has a couple different parts that I want to make sure that you understand. The first part up here, it's titled in the red, These are the pacing considerations. Those are those skills and experiences that classroom teachers identified that their students missed last year, trimester 3, when we went remote. So, for example, you can see the first thing on the second grade considerations is that their students didn't really get to practice their timed sprints in the classroom. Maybe you had your students practice their math facts at home, but they didn't really get the chance to use the sprints. We also wanted to make sure that teachers knew that their students missed the opportunity to use individual analog clocks to practice the time. So those are some of the skills and sequences that the first grade students didn't get last year that the second grade teachers are going to need to be aware of. Here is a link on your scope and sequence to the second grade math website, and you know that that's where a lot of your resources for assessment and homework are housed. Then each module has the standards listed. Well, it's hard to see right now. If a standard was supposed to be taught in trimester 3, we have highlighted that in yellow for this year's scope and sequence. So you know when you hit trimester 2 and you are teaching the geometry standard, you might need to spend a little extra time reviewing it because they got it last year during remote learning and they might just need a little support. When you scroll down to the reading, we're really excited to show you our second grade reading assessment guide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this guide right now, but I do want to click on it quickly just so you can see what to expect. Each grade has a reading assessment guide, and the writing assessment guide will be ready shortly. So each of these assessment guides has a mastery map. It has some suggestions on how to use it. And we have created common formative assessments for your students and common summative assessments where appropriate books will be made available. So I'm just going to scroll very quickly so you can see what some of our formative assessments look like. And you can see what some of our summative assessments look like. So another huge shout out to the Common Assessment Committee, or the ELA committee that worked all year to create these. So this is just going to scroll through, this is our scope and sequence for the year. We hope that it is helpful as you plan your assessments, and as you really think about some of the things that your students might need this year. Let's start talking about some of our assessment platforms. So the Common Assessment Committee that met this summer recommended 2 different platforms to help our teachers as we do assessment this year, remotely, hybrid, and even in person. So the first one is ESGI. This is just for our kindergarten through second grade teachers. This is a one-on-one assessment platform. Generally, the focus is on foundational skills such as sight words, letter naming, letter sounds, reading of CVC words. It will allow you to do some progress monitoring. There are some prepared assessments on the platform, but you can also create your own or use District 97 assessments. The second platform that our committee recommended this year was Affirm. Affirm is an online assessment platform for Eureka, so it's fully aligned to Eureka. This assessment is only available to teachers in grades 1 through 5. No kindergarten assessments were available because they recognized that most of those should have been done one by one. So these assessments are available by topic, mid-module, and summative. They're standards based. They create lovely forms and charts to help you see where your students are succeeding. You can assign these assessments to be done remotely, and about 70% of the assessment is graded for you. So it'll be a nice platform for you to use this year. The next steps and expectations for this work. There will be some professional development on Affirm and ESGI platforms, those assessment platforms we just talked about. There will be some professional development on the common assessment guides for reading and writing. And during those professional development times, we will be reviewing that scope and sequence. So you'll have a chance to dig a little bit deeper into that. The expectation is that this scope and sequence is followed by all teachers at their grade level to create a more common experience for all of our students. And we hope that the expectation is that you will use these common assessments, formative checks for understanding, and the combative assessments that are linked in our D97 scope and sequence. Thank you so much for listening and learning about the Accelerated Learning Plan and Scope and Sequence for District 97 2020-2021 school year.